Okay, we're live now, but nobody knows how to get to us here.
You want to share on the other one? Share that link on
Yeah.
chat.
Oh, I don't know how to get back to there.
You could probably do it from your phone, right? Just tell them to look for your live. The good news is there's nothing wrong with what's happening because it's okay. In just a couple more minutes, we're going to have this live stream up and running with myself and Terry Carter.
Okay. Let me find my chat. I think we got 19 people on. There's my, hey, how you doing? Man, sorry about this. I was going to be all professional and have a live stream, and I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And it's turned into a big wreck, but man, I'm glad those have come around. So with me, and let me know if you can hear me okay. Give me put a number 1 in the chat or thumbs up or something if you can hear us okay. I got a 1 from Loretta. I guess so. I'm guessing everybody can hear us okay.
Check 1, check 2. Can you hear me talking?
Can you hear Dan talking?
And I'm just going to let folks know that we've moved to a new live channel.
Yeah. So 25 people on. Let me get my other camera started real quick. And
I'm not ignoring everyone since the live stream link has changed. I just want to notify the folks that I put on YouTube. So
I'm going to put this here closer to you, Dan.
Sure. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Say something real quick.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay. I don't know how this is working for my computer and if you can hear it very good or not, but man, looks like we got 32 people in the house, and thank you guys for bearing with me that I don't know what I'm doing, and I freely admit that. I don't. I'm a hack, but I'm learning, and I don't even know how I'm learning. But
I've been no help at all, apparently. So
I am excited to be here today and share with you a good friend of mine. I met him a long time ago, Dan Dillman. I met him. Remember, we flew out there. This right. Like in the early 2000s. Yeah, we flew out there and met you.
You guys were jet setting, private jets.
We flew in on a private jet to meet you, and you was just finishing up
the
documentary of your family, your grandpa, your dad, your uncles on tracking down the Aztec treasure, and we got to preview it before it got shown to anybody else, and so I wanted everybody else to kind of hear this story. So, and you guys probably know Dan from the hit show Aztecs,
Lost Gold of the Aztecs, that was on History Channel.
Yeah. And anyway, so with that, I'm if I'm gonna have Dan, I want Dan to tell his family story because it's a great story. And then if you have any questions, man, I got this on my computer, so it's not on my phone, but I'm still kind of slow, but I'll try and read them, and I should get me a piece of paper and write them down. So if you have any questions as we get going, let me know. But with that, Dan, take it away.
Where do we start?
Let's talk about your family, your grandpa,
family origin,
your grandpa, and why did the History Channel even come to you with the Aztec treasure? And because you got a great story with your family, and
yes. So I'm a 3rd generation treasure hunter. My grandfather Raymond Dillman and my 2 uncles John and Paul Dillman got me started, obviously, in the family adventures. So back in 1964, 65 is when my family started the quest for Montezuma's treasure. Maybe a little sooner than that, but reality is my grandfather and uncles were absolutely into ancient civilizations and paranormal. I could run down the list. But in 1964, Time Life magazine, which this is an original magazine, had an article about the Peralta stone tablets, which I'm sure you're a follower of this genius, then you have heard about the Peralta stone tablets. Recently, I saw something where folks were calling them hoaxes, and I definitely am not here to debate whether they are hoaxes or not hoaxes, but I'll say this, they are real. They're real stone tablets. What could come into debate and is definitely up for debate is who created or carved those stone tablets. But that's how we got started, because Time Life magazine had an article spread on the Peralta stone tablets. So my uncles were cleaning out, and my grandfather, being the head supervisor, were cleaning out a neighbor's basement, and they came across the magazine, and my uncles saw the Peralta stone tablets in there, and it was a mystery that nobody could solve. And so they brought it to my grandfather. And make a long story short, he spent years and years working on the stone tablets and deciphering them and coming up with breaking the code and leading us through latitude and longitude. And I don't know if I've put that out there before, but through latitude and longitude. So there's a code that he deciphered from the Peralta stone tablets that led us to a remote location in Utah, southern Utah, in the early 1980s. And basically, my grandfather was looking for specific signs and symbols. Keep in mind, these signs and symbols weren't on the Peralta stone tablets. It's such a deep and multi-layered story. I don't know where to go. So I'm trying to
just the brief overview.
The brief overview. So in 1982, through the Peralta stone tablets, my grandfather's deciphering, we make an amazing archaeological discovery in Johnson Canyon, 1982, and where we discover hundreds of dead bodies, some cannibalized, sacrificial altar that also has what some know as a water glyph on it, but it was absolutely being used to sacrifice individuals and toss them over the edge of the mesa there and bury them. And we found clay pots full of turquoise, gold, and all kinds of artifacts. There was so many special artifacts, some that you would say could be standard Native American. Some mainstream archaeology says it was Basket Maker 2, but there were many things that were discovered that transcend just Basket Maker 2, Fremont. Not to say that that's not amazing, because that is. But we found this nodule, and matter of fact, it's right up there. There's a picture of it, and it's got a symbol on it. And it's made
sorry to derail you, because
derail.
I did not know that it was your family that found that nodule. I've seen that nodule. I didn't know it was your family that found it.
Yes,
so,
it's
cool.
My grandfather and uncles don't get enough credit for what they did. The property owners at the time who my grandfather struck the deal with were the Judd family. And the Judd family, today, we have a great relationship. There was a great relationship when my grandfather first arrived. Some things happened, and that relationship fell apart. So the Judds ended up keeping all of the artifacts, all of the discoveries. It was their property, even though we had a 50-50 deal with them. I'll just say that the things didn't go well. And the Judd family ended up keeping all of those artifacts and get a lot of the credit for the discovery. And like I said, God bless them. So there'll be no negative talk, because we're friends. And I've gone to mend old family hurts and wounds years ago. But they still have them. Some of the stuff is in the Kanab Museum.
So Tiger saying, was this in Utah? Yes, it was in Kanab, Utah, in Johnson Canyon. And there's a huge history about Johnson Canyon, about
the Dillmans, Freddie Crystal, Montezuma's treasure. We can run down the list. of important things. And something else too that a lot of people don't know, it's in our family history, and what we share is Cabeza de Vaca and Estevanico the Black. We believe that we discovered the body of Estevanico the Black. You would have to know some of your early Spanish history. You'd have to know some things about Coronado and Fray Marcos and those adventures to possibly have a glimpse and piece of knowledge about who those two characters were. But it's who my grandfather believed carved those Peralta stone tablets. And because it's so up in the air about the Peralta stone tablets, we're convinced that's who carved them. And they left them for a purpose, much bigger story. So many dots we'd have to share with you. I would have to share with you. It would be a couple-hour dissertation just to cover the dots and to connect the dots that would give a great case, prove a great case to why these guys could have been the ones to carve them. But make a long story short, not only did we find all of these artifacts, ancient signs and symbols, blue clay symbols that are known for royalty and Aztecs, but we also found another stone tablet, which is also over here. So it would be, it would be that guy right there.
Which is known, your family called it the fifth.
We call it the fifth stone tablet because it is made of the same sandstone material. It has carvings that are different and similar. And so, for us, for my grandfather, that was the key. That was kind of this for sure, aha. He had deciphered the Peralta tablets that led him to these other stone tablets. And to find another stone tablet with who we believe was Estevanico the Black, along with these artifacts, was pretty amazing, and has also unlocked several other locations for us throughout the decades. And so in a nutshell, we started out grandfather and uncles, and my family, my wife and I, my children, we are continuing the quest. So we're on the move, and we are still discovering really cool, amazing locations and uncovering history. But go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Ben. I'm just reading some of these comments. Flash in your pan, Ed. Thank you, man. He's saying 87 people live and only so many likes. Smash that like button. I don't know if that helps me with YouTube or not, but it makes me feel better. And then he says, Terry always talks that way. He's yelling. Somebody must have said I'm yelling. My wife says, you got to tone it down. You yell too much. And I do. I'll try and tone it down.
And I have nothing planned or written out that says I'm going to cover this and this is how I'm going to, share some of our stories. So forgive me for being scattered or if I sound like I'm bouncing all around. Absolutely willing to answer questions. But I want to say this. This is something that I think is super important to my family's quest, is that, we're not just seeking gold and jewels and riches. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing, treasure to us, is ancient records, uncovering history.
No wonder I like you, Dan.
Yeah. and the reality that, which no one until, I shared not so long ago, a few years ago, but nobody still has asked some simple questions that I asked my grandfather as a kid. Where is Montezuma's tomb? Where is Montezuma's monument? This was the greatest emperor, an Aztec king. He was the highest level spiritual leader, having the esoteric knowledge and wisdom of the ancients carried back from Atlantis. The Aztecs, the Maya, the Inca were all known to be carriers and holders of these ancient records. And here is Montezuma, the top dog, loved by the people. If you really do your research, and our family, we're Aztec Mayan descent, along with, actually, I'm Spanish descent as well on my mother's side, but my father's side, my grandmother was from Michoacan, Mexico. She was born with 6 fingers on each hand, being a 12-fingered being. As long as myself, I was born with 12 fingers, 6 on each hand. And just to let you know that bottom line is that so everyone loved, the people love Montezuma. The story that we've been told that the Spanish killed Montezuma and the Spanish saying the Aztec killed Montezuma is not the truth. Why is it not the truth? Cortez told us that he gave Montezuma's dying body to the lords to bring to the people to stop them from attacking and shutting down the markets and all of these things. And there's 3 or 4 or 5 different stories. But here's the thing. This guy, Montezuma, was a super intellect, a super spiritual guy, an amazing warrior, and a loved king, a revered king, not a hated, not a feared king. These are the facts that if you go talk to the indigenous and you talk to those who are truly connected and know the history, that's what they're going to tell you. And they're going to tell you he was loved. So how is it possible that we don't even have a monument in Mexico that says this is where Montezuma died, or this is where we honor Montezuma? This is the monument for him. None of that exists. No one, no historian, no archaeologist, nobody talks about where is the tomb of Montezuma.
That's a good thought. I never thought about that, but yeah, you're right. That's a great thought.
Right? If he was killed, there would be a place that says Montezuma was killed here, and they would have a monument. It's bullshit, excuse my language, that some people say, because there'll be some folks who say, "Oh, Montezuma was hated. He gave up the kingdom to the Spanish." That's so not true. He was operating from a whole nother level. Remember, he was the spirit. He was the high priest before he ever became emperor. He knew the prophecies of what were to come. He knew of the ages and of technology that we've lost today. The pyramids that are in Mexico, that are in Egypt, that are across this planet is proof of an ancient technology that was universal and that all continents were in union and in communication and using this technology. There's proof here right before our eyes. It says there was a universal technology. There was a universal mathematics, astronomy, all of it. It's there. We just most people don't want to believe it.
Man, you're going places I didn't even know you knew about and I don't know about. That's all news and to me and kind of interesting.
Right.
So, but you did say when I was doing this that you was into UFOs, into spirituality, I thought you was just a treasure hunting. Man, you're well-rounded.
Well, thank you. And I don't want to ramble too much, what you guys don't want to hear. But I will say that obviously, treasure hunting is the term that we use. Whatever, it's fine. But it transcends and I'm sure most of you, a lot of you have had experiences, right? So we'd be out in the desert searching for sites and locations as a kid. I started when going out with my uncles and grandfather at 8 years old out here into the deserts of southern Utah. And we would be, unlike today, I've got a pretty dope ass 4x4 Mercedes adventure van.
It's pretty nice.
That I could shower, use the bathroom, and sleep in while we're out in the mountains. But back then, we had, my uncles and grandfathers didn't come from money, and we had to scrape up what we had to go on our adventures. We would sleep out in the desert with no tents, no sleeping bags. We would be straight roughing it. We had water and some bologna sandwiches while we're out in the desert for days doing what we're doing. And I guess what I was going to say is we have seen things that a lot of people haven't. We have had unidentified flying objects follow us, orbs of light show up that are unexplainable. There were no drones showing up in 1982, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, and 89, and 90 in our area while we're out in the desert, remote, nowhere, different. The stories are endless, and I can go on and on, but bottom line is there are things that are happening in our skies that we're unaware of. And keep in mind, it is technology, and some of it's our government nowadays, no doubt. But this technology and this phenomena has been happening in our skies for eons, and it's been documented by the natives. And again, from India to China to the Americas, the ancients have told you straight up, this is what they've experienced, and it's still happening today. But if you're not open and receptive and ready, then you'll never have the experience. So we have. So being a treasure hunter, starting out as treasure hunting, you turn into a historian, right? How many of you are experts, probably know more than some of your teachers would have known in school teaching history, because they were only teaching what they were taught. And we go down rabbit holes, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm talking too much. Forgive me. Stop.
No, man, you're not talking too much. But let's see. I want to say hi to some of the people there. Anthony Michael Garcia, man, thanks for showing up. Ancient ships and symbols. I lost it. Snoopish 100, Flash in Your Pan hero. Hey, Flash in Your Pan, he's got a great YouTube channel. He's one heck of a prospector, and he's every Tuesday night. He knows how to go live. I don't, but Flash in Your Pan, Ed does, man. Check it out. Jim Heyman, Aztec homeland was Aztlan Island in a lake. This was the place of the Egyptians called Atlantis. What do you think on that?
Absolutely. There's no doubt. Even common sense, you don't need to go to Harvard to put together Aztlan and Atlantis are the same place. And we have mystics who existed, in our time, Edgar Cayce, Helen Blavatsky, who all even said, Manly P. Hall. There are ancient records that exist that clearly state that Atlantis and the Aztecs and the Maya and the Inca, basically the high priest, those high priests of all of those cultures, we're connected to Atlantis, and we're the keepers of the records. And that's one of the things that we're looking for. There's no doubt that we believe that the tomb of Montezuma contains more than riches and gold and jewels. It contains the ancient records of Atlantis. What is that? That's ancient genealogy that goes back to the beginning of time, not just biblical, what we get from the Bible perspective, but we're talking about pre-biblical existence and bloodlines and technology and wisdom. That same technology and wisdom that built the pyramids across the globe. The same technology that said that the earth has a wobble every 23,000 years. These guys had no computers to our understanding. They didn't have any satellites in space to tell them the earth wobbles every 23,000 years and that these star systems and those star systems, it's clear that they had the knowledge and the technology at their disposal. So I think it's ignorant for us to say anytime that they were savages. That's what the Spanish, and hey, that's half my bloodline. My grandparents came from Spain to Cuba. My grandmother, her descendants are conquistadors. So I have the bloodline of both the Aztec, the Maya, and the Spanish. But my point is, for to ever claim that the Native Americans at any level are savages or uneducated is just absolutely, forgive my French, stupid. Unbelievable ignorance, because the proof is there that they had this knowledge and they hold on to it today. The Hopi, they have this wisdom that we've lost. And so to me, it's evident that anyway, so I'm off on a tangent.
No, man, I'm liking what you're saying. I knew I liked you, but now I really like you.
But there's no doubt. Atlantis, Aztlan connected. I don't necessarily agree that it's Antelope Island, if that's what you're saying in Utah, but I will say that Utah is absolutely key to this entire adventure, and where I believe we're going to discover the tomb of Montezuma.
So I don't believe Antelope Island either, but at one time I thought that Stansbury Island could possibly be the ancient homeland. And I had some strange things go on out there with me that someday I'll tell that story. It wasn't pretty. But I'll tell that someday. Yeah. So when, let's see. Warren says, hi, Terry. I'm Warren Young, Treasure Recovery Services. I would like to hear from you about the pond in the mountains that the gold artifacts may have been thrown into. So he's probably talking about Three Lakes. So sure. Tell him about Three Lakes.
Sure. So Three Lakes is, I'm going to say this, what most people don't know. All right. So Brant Child, Lawn Child, Three Lakes. You can look that up. What most people don't know about Three Lakes is that it was my grandfather's research that pointed to Three Lakes as another location.
I did not know that.
Absolutely. I've got a letter from Arnell Judd, which was Von Judd's wife. She was the owner. They were the owners of the 82 location property. From her to Brant Judd, saying that
Brant Childs?
Brant Child, sorry, to Brant Child that Mr. Dillman, Raymond Dillman, provided this stuff and says the 3 lakes up the road. And then Brant was so into it, he was down at the 82 location. I've even got a photo of him on the sacrificial altar. And because of my grandfather's research and saying this is a location, hey, Brant, God bless him, went out there and acquired the property. And Lon Child will even testify to this, that his father got that information from my grandfather and the Judds. And so 3 Lakes is absolutely a special place and holds stuff, treasure. We'll put it that way. There are things to uncover. Unfortunately, right now, the Childs lost the property. The family sold it. So I should say that, it's no longer in the family's possession. It is owned by an organization that doesn't want anyone on that property. I will say this too, 3 Lakes, lots of things have happened there. My family and I have worked with the Childs for decades while they own the property, and we have done investigations there as well. Absolutely, something special is in that cavern system. Don't try to go sneak on 3 Lakes and go through that lake. I will promise you, you will die. It is death, and for those who were lucky enough to discover it, to find out about that way is death. You'll die. So forget it. Do yourself a favor and don't attempt to sneak on the property or do any of that stuff, because it's not going to work out well for you. Secondly, people have died. Drillers have died. Divers have had unexplainable phenomena happening to them. We have proven there is a tunnel system there. And matter of fact, I have a bunch of footage back from probably, 2000, early 2000s, where we documented some of our last expeditions there. And we got 20 feet into the tunnel, and even our barge started sinking. Now, Lon, if you're watching this, I told you not to build the barge. We needed to rent a barge. But it started sinking, and then there was all kinds of legal issues happening that stopped us from our further investigations. But my Uncle Paul, who has passed away a few years ago now, he made it clear that entrance was death. And that was not the way for us to get into that property. So 3 Lakes is absolutely a special location. There is a curse attached to this treasure. Why? Because what is meant to be discovered is not meant for one individual to enrich themselves. That's the thing. The real treasure is going to be this ancient wisdom knowledge that is helping the civilization, this 4th world, enter into the 5th world. All of you should, matter of fact, there's a Hopi prophecy. I could possibly play it. My grandfather recorded an audio of the Hopi prophecy of when Montezuma's treasure would be found. Have you seen that on?
I haven't.
Let's see. I'm going to play it. Let's see if it's loud enough.
So while you're looking that up, I seen Jen Ottens is on. How you doing, Jen? Taz 11 or Taz 11. How you doing? Taz says Jim is correct. I don't know who Jim is.
Jim who? Maybe we missed something in the comments.
There probably is something in the comments. There must be a Jim in the comments. So you ready to play it?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Let's see.
Dan Kachongla, the old chief of the independent Hopi Indian nation, gave a sign as to when Montezuma's treasure would be found. It will come in a time when the Gentile leaders will turn murderers and thieves loose, almost unpunished, to roam the land and vex the people. In a time when the Gentile people...
Can you guys hear this okay? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear it.
Men who will establish a secret combination with world leaders, which will sap the strength of the American nation. And in a time when this secret combination of men will have gained such power over the American people to make them as slaves. So
that was the Hopi prophecy. Somebody was reading the Hopi prophecy.
Correct. That was my grandfather, an old recording of him reading the Hopi prophecy that was given in the early 1900s in regards to when Montezuma's treasure would be found. Keep in mind, the Hopi are fully aware of Montezuma's treasure. They're fully aware that it exists, and they understand the magnitude of the true treasure, which, like I said, is ancient technology, ancient records.
So this will have to be another video.
Tools and objects for communicating and opening portals, transdimensional. There's so much stuff. I don't want to go too deep because I don't know at what level, you guys want to hear, because there is very traditional third dimensional treasure. Gold, silver, that doesn't mean shit to me personally. Forgive my French, but it doesn't mean anything to me. What means something to me is uncovering the true history, the true realities of our ancient brothers and sisters who warned us about the path that we're on now, and who have provided solutions for us if we're ready. And that's what I believe a part of Montezuma's treasure is are we ready to transcend, survival of the fittest, and I'm stronger so I could take from you. It really has to be more of that Christ-centered, Hopi-centered, Buddha-centered, Lao Tzu-centered, Krishna-centered, way of life. And so the treasure also is multidimensional. So which can get deep.
So I want to go back to your grandfather, because I don't know if you said this. If you did, I missed it. But, I know this. Your grandfather was legally blind.
Yes.
And
yes.
he traveled. He legally blind. He interpreted the stones. He came, told your uncles, your dad, how to get here, what roads to how to get, looking for certain canyons. Tell that story.
My grandfather, from about the age of 10, was legally blind. And if you ever met him, even the judge and other people who have said they met him, that, he was blind. But he would put a magnifying glass up to one of his eyes, and he would put it real close, and he would appear to be reading. But, I asked him one time, I said, Grandpa, how can you, I'm a kid. I want to know. I'm like, dude, you can't see. But he had special powers. There's just no doubt about it. And my grandmother was blind too, by the way. My grandfather, Raymond, and my grandmother, Rosalie, they were both blind. They met at the School of the Blind in Berkeley.
Wow.
And so my grandmother was blind because she got smallpox or something in her eyes when she was born, and went blind, eyes totally blue and all that stuff. But anyway, so I asked my grandfather, I said, how can you see? And he told me, he said, when you dream, when you sleep and you have a dream, do you see people and places in your dreams? And I said, yes. He said, that's the same way that I see. So he was telling me that although he was doing this, he basically said, it is my mind that sees, not my eyes. And that was what he was sharing.
So I know that one of the judges, I forget which one, told the story of how, your grandfather come up to the house and asked if there was a certain symbol, and they said, yeah. And,
yep.
And he wanted to know how your grandfather knew all that. And then he had him dig down, and they found, tell that.
Yeah. My grandfather would know things. They weren't written in the Peralta stone tablets. They weren't written down anywhere. So one of the symbols my grandfather was looking for was a giant spiral. This giant spiral, my grandfather said, here, you're going to dig 65 feet down, and you'll discover 3 bodies. And with those 3 bodies, you'll discover this and that. And to everyone's amazement, once again, this is not the Dillman family telling a story to try to make something up to make my grandfather be someone he wasn't. It's true.
The judge tell the same story.
But the judge tell the story. They have no reason. They could have said, oh, we found stuff. We're the ones. They told the truth. God bless them. That my grandfather told them, this is what they'll find. This is how far you have to dig. And this is exactly what you're going to find, to the T. And that's what happened, because my grandfather was tapping into that higher sense of reality, call it third, fourth dimensional mental mind. That's how he explained it to me. And I don't have your scientific reason, but the reality is even with quantum physics and science today, they are starting to jump into what the ancients told us years ago, that everything is consciousness, everything is mind. So there are levels of reality, and he was able to tap into this remote viewing, we can call it. The government has admitted that remote viewing is real. The CIA had a program of remote viewing. Other countries have had the program of remote viewing. My grandfather was doing remote viewing. That's one explanation to share with people. Remote viewing is a fact. It's a reality. And he proved it. And to have other families and other individuals see it unfold before their eyes was awesome. And so that's the type of guy my grandfather was, is that, he was a special dude. You could come, he did, we'll call it a parlor trick, but it was not. If I brought a friend over, or really it was my uncles would have their friends come, and we'd all sit at a kitchen table at my grandfather's or my uncles, and we'd talk about all this stuff. But my grandfather could tell you how much money was in your pocket. And I can't explain it any other way. It was like a little game they would play, but okay, tap your pocket and I'll tell you how much change you have in your pocket. He could do that.
Really?
Every time. Every time.
Wow,
weird, crazy stuff. But the blind, when you lose sight, because my grandmother was special as well. She had lost her sight, but she raised 5 kids in Oakland, California in the 50s. Right. And there were no caretakers. They didn't have someone in there helping them. I mean, my uncles and dad and aunt would tell us all the time, oh man, she would know we're up to something. She couldn't see nothing. We'd be doing stuff, making faces in front of her. Right. And she would know and bust them. So when you lose one sense, it's documented scientific fact that some people get enhanced hearing if they lost their sight. If they lost their hearing, they get enhanced sight. So these things are not unbelievable, even to
I've heard that. Yep.
Yeah, even to those who don't want to hear about that kind of stuff.
Cool. I'm sitting on all. What else do I want to ask you? So for those that don't know about Freddie Crystal and what he did here, I'm sure
Yes.
you know that story very well. Tell
Absolutely.
these guys about Freddie Crystal, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers for Dan Dillman.
Yeah, and forgive me, guys, for being all over the map. Once again, I didn't put a little bullet list down and say, stick to this, stick to that. But Freddie Crystal was a cool dude, in my opinion. Whit, what was Whit's last name? Gina, what was Judd's dad's name? Vaughn's dad's name?
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm going blank because I know this like crazy. It's only because I'm here. I am looking for it. Anyway, Robinson. There we go. Whit Robinson, who was a grandchild of Oscar Robinson. Thank you. I'm talking to myself. Thank you to remember.
Hey, wait till you get my age.
He gave a testimony in a National Geographic article about Freddie Crystal. A lot of people don't know this. And so he said that when Freddie Crystal came to town and Oscar Robinson put him up at his ranch, Oscar Robinson is the grandfather to Vaughn Judd and Ornell Judd, really Vaughn Judd. That was his dad's dad. And that Johnson Canyon property, so I'm going to try to make this make sense. The 1982 location was a Judd family ranch, which used to be called the Oscar Robinson Ranch, because that was Judd's grandfather. So Freddie Crystal came to Kanab, Utah, make a very long story short, with a map and said, hey, I believe there's treasure around here. And he believed Montezuma's treasure was around here. And that map led him to Johnson Canyon, the White Mountains. And
Sorry, but same as your grandfather was led to Johnson Canyon.
Yes. Now, here's something that even the judge tripped out about. My grandfather said, there's something on your property. Freddie Crystal lived on that property. Freddie Crystal, every night, he worked as a ranch hand on that property, went and made it his home base as he went to search for treasure and artifacts everywhere else. And my grandfather and Freddie land at the same location. Now, Freddie didn't know that he was at the location that he needed to be to uncover things there to find that stone tablet. Freddie never did that. He went out to White Mountains, and Freddie discovered a badass cave. Don't get me wrong, covered with blue granite, which we call Freddie's Cave or Montezuma's Cave today. It's in Johnson Canyon, Kanab, Utah. And this cave was awesome. Cowhide Adams and Freddie and Vaughn's dad. Gosh, what was Vaughn's dad's name? I can't believe I'm forgetting these things, but make a long story short, those three of them, it was really Freddie, but then they were supporting Freddie, uncovered this tunnel. Man, they thought they hit pay dirt. They thought they found the treasure, and they cracked open the tomb. But what happened? Huh? Alvin. There we go. Alvin Judd. So now when they busted open this sealed tunnel system, Cowhide and Freddie were there by himself. And as they got in, Freddie was, of course, thought the treasure was right there. So he started digging. As he started digging, a boulder came falling out from the top and pinned Freddie Crystal's leg. And he was, his leg was caught there. And if Cowhide wasn't with them, they wouldn't have been able to go back to town to get help to get Freddie, unpinned. But just like Indiana Jones, where the ball comes rolling out, I'm convinced that Lucas got that from Freddie Crystal's real experience, So this cave in Johnson Canyon is a special cave. There were things hidden there. They were moved. But you have to ask yourself, why would someone go through the trouble of digging out an entire tunnel cave system? I can't remember how many cubic feet, but something. It took the townsfolk 2 years because Freddie enlisted the entire town. And it took them nearly 2 years to dig out this entire cave and tunnel system. And nothing was found.
So yeah, to add to that, maybe you was going to get to it, and I'm still in your thunder.
No,
sorry. They would break down a concealed wall, and there would be a passageway and nothing in there. But there would be a death trap in the floor, a cone-shaped hole in the ground that when they fell into it, man, they would squish down and they would die, and there would be another blocked wall, and they'd dig through it, and it just blocked wall after blocked wall after blocked wall,
and nothing.
And nothing. They never found nothing. And the townspeople was so excited and they needed more help that all the men in the town came up and helped. And so when people came through this town, there was nothing but women in this town. The women were running the town.
Yeah. It's crazy. And who would go through all the trouble to not only carve and dig and excavate that entire tunnel system, cavern, but then who in God's name would fill it back up and seal it? What's the point of that?
It's a dummy.
Yes. It's meant to make someone bust their ass for 2 years or longer if it was just a few people. This was an entire town and it took 2 years. It would be meant to discourage them from the real location. And it means you're close. And there is much to discover. We also believe Montezuma's treasure is multiple caches. We don't believe you're going to find all of what we call Montezuma's treasure in one location. We believe that the high priest of the Inca, the Maya, and the Aztec were working together. We believe that Montezuma himself, you hear stories that Montezuma's son or Montezuma's brother or led this treasure back. We believe it was Montezuma himself. Once again, falling into our theory, I'm fine to say that, our theory that Montezuma was never killed and that he himself was the one. But we believe they started moving the treasure 12 years prior to Cortez's arrival. And if you look at some of the ancient codex, and if you know the oral history that's not even written down, which you need to get deep into a relationship with those who hold on to that knowledge, Montezuma had omens. And you can find this on the internet nowadays too, about the omens, a comet, a strange creature appearing. Remember, Montezuma wasn't a normal dude. He was into the esoteric, the spiritual, the higher understandings of what was going on. And it was also a prophecy, people, that Cortez and his men were coming. Montezuma never thought that he was Quetzalcoatl. I promise you, the only reason that story is told because someone told it once, and everyone has told it since. And there's no way in God's created world that Montezuma believed for a minute that Cortez was a god Quetzalcoatl. And I don't know if people want to hear it, but we can run down that channel and we can put that to rest right away. Bernal Diaz wrote in his book. So some of you may know Bernal Diaz was with Cortez when they quote unquote conquered the Americas, And in his book, he gives personal conversation. And keep in mind, some of the stuff they tell us is what they want us to know, their history, his story, their version. Some of it, of course, is truth of conversation that was unfolding. And there was a conversation, I forget what page it is, but Montezuma was telling Bernal and Cortez, and this is where I believe the whole Quetzalcoatl thing comes from. Montezuma said to them while they're dining at this massive feast, "You truly are the ones that my ancestors spoke about coming. You truly are the ones." And the ones for what? Not gods. They didn't say you're Quetzalcoatl. Do you see Bernal Diaz ever say, oh yeah, Montezuma thought we were gods, man, and we just bullshitted them and did what we did? No. They were the ones who were coming. They were the sign of the end of the age. Montezuma knew there was, like I said, their calendar system far more advanced than our Gregorian today, far more accurate. Their knowledge was way deep. Montezuma was saying, look, you are the ones who were prophesied to come. This is the end of our rule, our way, our civilization as we know it. And this was a change, right? It's a known fact, whether it be from the Hopi and others, that they all say the Aztec, the Inca, the Maya, we have been in 4 different worlds, or we're in the 4th world, entering the 5th. I could be off by 1 or 2. Forgive me, I don't have my notes, and my memory, for some reason, sometimes escapes me. But the reality is they knew of a time, and just like we have biblical prophecies, we have prophecies from the ancients that say that this civilization, this system of things, it doesn't mean the earth's going to explode. It doesn't mean necessarily nuclear war and all these things, but the system. And if you pay attention to what's happening today, you could definitely see, I believe, that we're in World War III already. And call it World War III, call it the end of a cycle. Maybe that's the better way, because I don't really believe World War III, but it is an end of a cycle that we're at. Technology-wise, we're at this moment with AI and all these other things, with civilization, with society, with governments, with money. We're at this transitional time with digital. So if you really can stand back and look at how does a civilization change? You can look at how the Aztecs in Spanish, that was a whole world. And what changed? The system of things changed. The governments changed. The powers to be changed. And these are the cyclical systems that we're dealing with on a earthly level and cosmic level. And Montezuma knew that. And that was a sign for him. But he had already gotten the signs and symbols 12 years previous, knowing that it was happening. So they started moving their records and their most precious items 12 years before the Spanish ever arrived.
They knew a cycle was coming, and
not just a cycle, they had prophecies. Montezuma, and that's why even in that conversation, he says, you truly are the ones. We had been preparing because I had gotten these omens, the comets, the 12 omens or so that he had received previously, and he was preparing for this. And I believe, once again, my family believes that there are dots that are right before our eyes that prove Montezuma was out in Utah, and that he traveled from Mexico all the way out here. And we believe that when I brought up earlier, where's the tomb of Montezuma? Why is there no monument to him? There's not one in Mexico, but there are monuments to him. Do you know? Do you know?
No, I don't know. However, I've had other people tell me that there are things in Utah that represent and look just like their temples, just like their things here in Utah.
Well, Montezuma's Castle in Arizona, right? Arizona. Why is it called Montezuma's Castle? Most people will say some white dude or European came through and said, we're naming this Montezuma's Castle. Why in the hell would they do that? And when you research, you'll find that no, that's just what someone has said. There is no evidence and no proof. Even when you start talking to the national parks, they'll go to, no, the natives called it Montezuma's Castle before anyone ever showed up.
Mm.
Do you know there's a place called Montezuma's Canyon in Utah? There's a place called Montezuma's Canyon in Utah. Go do your research, because a very shallow research will say some man named it Montezuma's Castle in the 1800s or something like that, or Montezuma's Canyon. But then you do deeper research and find out, no, he never did. It was named that by the natives.
There's a place called Recapture Creek that some people say that Montezuma was recaptured by the Spaniards. You know about that?
I know that Montezuma was never recaptured by the Spanish, but it doesn't mean that other Aztecs weren't
recaptured
or because they absorbed, right? They lots of them came, people have the idea that Aztecs were all murdered and killed and, they're gone. And no, there's also the
Utes, the Paiutes,
the Paiutes, the Shoshone, we can run down the list. They speak Nahuatl, right? They speak the language, the Uto-Aztecian language connection.
Mm-hmm.
So, everyone wants to see. The thing is, and God bless them, these scholars, historians, linguistics, these folks can say, oh, well, this one thing, and they excuse it away. They excuse away the one thing. But how do you excuse away all of them? When you add them all together, how does just saying, no, you can't. And I think anyone who's reasonable should be open to the reality that, well, you know what? We don't just have one example of a connection. We have a multitude. And how ignorant is it to think that we today have relations, government relations? We have the United States communicates with every single king on the globe. China, Russia's, the whole entire globe, our governments have communication, right? They have ambassadors. Do you think that the Aztecs didn't have ambassadors? Do you think the Maya and the Inca didn't have ambassadors? Do you really think that China and Egypt and all of these folks were just locally in their own area? Man, I so want to use the F word to say F no. The pyramids are proof that they all had the same technology and they communicated with this technology and they traded and they were they had political ties, they had ambassadors, they were trading. All of that exists, and you could dig deep, you can find those things, and it's evident by the monuments that have been left for us and the universal language of technology and mathematics exist for us to know that that's a fact. And so just recently I saw an article where archaeologists said, we just discovered the Mayas had a water filtration system, right? It was big national news. They knew how to filter water better than us. And I'm going, yeah, they ran water, they had running water, because they had all of this technology. And it just blows me away. To me, it's common sense. It's common sense that they had intelligence, wisdom, and knowledge that for whatever reason we lost. So we're just catching up. We're just catching up.
Man, I'm liking it. So with that said, let's take a few questions from some people. And Harry Hubbard's a smart guy, been working pretty hard on the Illinois cave, Burroughs Cave, knows a lot about that. He says there never were any Mayans. There never was a Mayan calendar either. Yucatan means I don't know, just rattle on and make it up as you go. Harry, man.
Well, you know what? I believe Brewer's Cave. I remember hearing about that years ago. Hopefully you are on to finding something.
He's with Burroughs Cave in Illinois. Okay.
So, but the Aztec sunstone, by the way, everyone calls it a calendar. It's a sunstone. And the sunstone is in fact, greater than just it's not just the calendar. The Maya did have a calendar. So I don't know what he's saying. Maybe we're misunderstanding what he's saying. But there's the Aztec sunstone that is absolutely talking once again about the greater cyclical life, existence, time. And it's called the Aztec sunstone. A lot of people call it a calendar. It is the sunstone, and that's a whole nother conversation. But it exists. So to say that they didn't have their 260-day calendar and the back tombs would be goofy, because it is a known fact.
Somebody says, "Am I a monk?" No. Do I look like a monk? I don't know. You calling me a monkey or what? I don't know.
I've been called a Buddhist monk by Channel 5 News one time when I was making a comment.
Mindful Exposures, how you doing? She says, when will we know the full existence of the empire? Man, that's who knows that.
And which empire are we talking about? The Aztec Empire? Or are we talking about the Atlantis Empire?
Let's see. So Jim Heyman's talking about giants. So somebody commented in the beginning, thank God, man, we're not talking about giants. But here in Kanab, there have been giants found. What do you know about the giants?
Yeah. At our 82 location, many giant skeletons were found. Robert Shrewsbury and Robert Ghostwolf, they used to be partners in crime, I would say. Not crime, but in adventures. They were sharing a lot of our finds from the 82 location, some of the skeletons, remains. Absolutely, there were giants. There are giants recorded in the Native American histories, from the Hopi to every single tribe in the Americas. We have skeletal remains. We have a few giants that have lived within our lifetime. I think Guinness Book of World Records had the 7 or 8 foot tall guy. So you can't say that giants did not exist, because there were very large people that did exist. And there were redheaded giants. There were blue-eyed giants. There were all kinds of different varieties of humans, okay? And what I call a human is a hue, meaning many shades and colors of light, and man, which means being. We are all light beings, radiating and emanating different colors and varieties. Like there are many flowers and sizes and shapes and colors, there are people, and giants existed. Biblical times, ancient Aztec have the knowledge of the giants, and so did the Hopi, and the list goes on. And they have been found out this way for sure. And there are still caves and caverns that exist of things that would blow people's minds, that are here. We could start talking about the Grand Canyon, the area and where Kincaid and James White and all these guys is not too far from where we are.
It's not very far at all, right here from Kanab.
Right.
Yeah.
And why is that? Why? Because they came down the Great River, and right in this area is pretty much the only place that they would be able to come up and then travel and get on to the land and move even large items besides themselves, which is not too far from here. Robert Shrewsbury, which a lot of people don't know, I told you recently, Robert and I have, even have an agreement still in place that transcends him being here. Robert, I know you're in heaven doing your thing, for a location that we've got together that no one knew that we were working on together. And there are many cool things to discover. I highly encourage people not to destroy nothing.
Do not destroy nothing.
Please, to the best of your ability, document and share. Let people know you found it. That's fine. Let people know that what it is. Even though this is a balance, because sometimes the authorities, many cases where Hoyt Peak we're talking about, many times or maybe that's the wrong place. What's the Victoria Peak. There are times we go tell agencies that these things exist and we found them, and then we're no longer allowed to see them ourselves, and they disappear. I understand that can happen, but to the best of our ability, let's please honor the land. It is all sacred. It is all wonderful, but take pictures, document, and don't necessarily share the location with the world. Just because you don't want people who are just going to damage and do graffiti. My God, it blows me away when I see these ancient pictographs and petroglyphs, and then there's some bullshit carvings and John was here. Take a picture, man. Take a picture and put yourself in it, do a selfie. Please don't damage anything. Be good caretakers. And you know what? You'll be allowed to find more things if you're willing to share and not be greedy or self-serving. It's really all of these things, I believe, and even the things that we share is meant for us to grow and meant for us to, some of us to open our minds to the possibilities of alternate history. Things may not be the way that we were taught. It could be different, and being open and receptive to that and being good caretakers.
Man, the more you talk, the more I like what you're just saying there, Yeah, I definitely do not destroy anything. Definitely,
Yeah. And call me or Terry, by the way, let us know. I'm down to come investigate certain things. Obviously, we're all on our own paths. We may have our own beliefs. I've got a few other treasure hunters who have hit me up. God bless you guys on your missions. If I can help you with some knowledge, whether that be helping sign symbols, helping if you're being approached by any reality TV shows. No one shares a lot. I couldn't find any people, and I've got so-called friends or associates who have done things, and they wouldn't share anything with me. So some of you out there who might be listening know that I'm willing to share information. I'm willing to give advice. I'm open to possibly coming to work with you on a certain site, something you may have. Don't beat me up if I'm not available right away as well, because I'm doing a bunch of stuff as well. But
and that's true. I get emails all the time, phone calls all the time, and one, I'm not as smart as everybody thinks I am. I know a lot of smart people, but I'm not. But two,
He's very smart.
I am not. And two, as I got it, this is my fun. This is what I enjoy doing. But I have to work for a living to do this, and so I have my own projects that I'm working on, and so I just don't have a lot of time. But the big thing is, these guys are a lot smarter than me.
No, but we're willing to be crazy to go out there and possibly meet with you or to hear what you've got to say. And I want to put this out there. Obviously, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Dillman Family, YouTube would be Montezuma's Treasure, and then MontezumasTreasure.com would be my website, and you can find me on Facebook and all that kind of stuff too. I don't post enough. I've got to be better at that. But we're actively on, got multiple sites that we're working now. We've been documenting, just to give you guys a heads up, for those of you who may have watched Lost Gold of the Aztecs, we are still working at that location that you saw some things, and we've made some amazing, badass new discoveries that I believe 100%. We've even had archaeologists there saying, yeah, we can't explain this without accepting the possibilities of A and B. And I don't want to give it all up. That's why I'm talking like this. But bottom line is we're documenting it. We're filming it. We're working on a new series. And we're also working on a documentary. There's a documentary I'm working on that catches you up from our last documentary, which you can watch on my YouTube channel for free. It's called Secrets of the Stone Tablets in Search of Montezuma's Treasure. You can find it on Amazon, or you can watch it free on my YouTube channel and get some of our history without me being all over the map.
And that's a great video. And he's giving it away free, man. That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
So and while you're on that, your Facebook page, your other page, talk about, tell how they can.
Yeah. So once again, Facebook, I think you'll find me under Dan Dillman. You might find me under Mr. X. Heck, I don't know.
I think it's Mr. X.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
And X is really, for the placeholder, because my name can't really be Dan if there's a million Dans out there. This is a joke I have with people all the time, but the reality is we all have an individual name that is written in our minds that is unique to us. But anyway, you can find me on Facebook, Dan Dillman, Instagram, I believe it's Dillman Family. And then I think Facebook Montezuma Treasure page is Dillman Family. And then MontezumasTreasure.com and Montezuma Treasure on YouTube. And I'll get better. I told myself for 2024, I was going to share a few different things. And once again, my interests are all things, of course, ancient civilization, treasure, call them UFOs, UAPs, they're calling them now. Unexplained phenomena is what I like to say, paranormal activity, and even Bigfoot. We've had our own personal Bigfoot experience a few times, and I've got a different spin on what I believe Bigfoot is and why some people have bad experiences with Bigfoot. But we're starting to get more sightings as cell phone cameras improve. We're starting to get more sightings and better quality of sightings. And I think that as we are entering the end of this age, more things are being revealed. There'll be more signs. I said this last year, actually. I said last year or earlier this year that we're going to start seeing more things in the sky. A lot of them will be our own government's technology, but we also have things that are going to be unexplainable, like we have our government admitting now. I mean, they are admitting that we have unexplainable phenomena happening in our skies. I believe because we have experiences at these ancient sites, I'm convinced that there are watchers, that I'm convinced that Montezuma himself was in communication with these star people. We'll call them star people. Again, he was a spiritual leader. He was the head of an empire, just like our president and certain CIA officials and government officials have high-level classification and have knowledge and access to information that us commoners don't have. That is the same things that were taking place in ancient times. And the rulers of these kingdoms absolutely had communication with these other civilizations and peoples. So what are people saying? Am I rambling too much?
It goes faster than I can read. And I'm a slow reader anyway.
My wife is off over here, shy to be on camera and telling me I'm talking too much. So
no, I think you're doing great.
Forgive me.
Let's see. Anybody, and if anybody hasn't seen the show on the History Channel, Searching for Montezuma's Treasure, take a look at it.
Yeah,
see Dan, his wife, and your boy.
Yes, my son Derek.
Yep. It's a great show.
Lost Gold of the Aztecs. I believe you can still stream it on History. I've also been on Ancient Aliens, an episode Treasures of the Gods. And then me and my Uncle Paul were on an episode of Beyond Oak Island, Montezuma's Treasure. And then I'll be on another History Channel series in an episode of, I'm not going to say because I don't remember if I signed a paper that said I'm not supposed to say what show it was. So I'll just say that I'll be on an episode of a History Channel program in March, I believe, of 2024 when that episode will air. So, and we're working, right? I've been doing this forever, and we're filming and documenting our adventures and our discoveries. So we're planning for a new series. I can't say that that's the Lost Gold of the Aztecs, but it's something new, could be on a different channel, could be on history if you're watching. Hey, bottom line is that we're documenting and we have got projects in the works and we're filming. And I also have, I think I started to say, we have a documentary that will be coming out that won't be a part of the series. It'll be more part 2 to Secrets of the Stone Tablets in Search of Montezuma's Treasure. Basically going to cover the Three Lakes adventures. We've had some people, you know, gosh, I'll just say there's some folks out there who have copied and stolen our story and our adventures and made them their own. But bottom line is I'm going to have a documentary that shares some of that stuff, and you'll get some things from my Uncle Paul, who passed away, my Uncle Johnny, who passed away. And yeah, we're the family's continuing the adventures. Me, the wife, my son Derek, also have my son Josh and my daughter Tiana. You know, family affair, family business. We're super serious on the show. It appears like they didn't show any funny stuff. The Dillman family is absolutely serious, but we're absolutely happy people. We're absolutely, you know, my uncles were some serious dudes, and you never wanted to piss them off because they were crazy, but they were the most loving, fun jokesters that you know that ever existed, and made my life fun and mysterious and wonderful. So I want to say that I honor my grandfather, my grandmother, not just on my dad's side for my Aztec and Mayan and indigenous history and heritage, but my grandmother and my grandfather on my mother's side for my Spanish and Cuban history, and my uncles and my aunt, just everyone. I honor them and thank them for instilling in me the belief that life is much more than you know, these blinders.
Amen.
Say just
Amen.
look ahead, look straight ahead, and don't look over there or over there. You know, life is far more adventurous and mysterious and exciting than some people want you to believe. And we're not here to not follow our passions and dreams. I want to say that too. Man, if you got something, it doesn't matter if it's treasure hunting or prospecting, which by the way, my grandfather and uncles were prospecting too in their early days. But whatever it is, man, make sure you are taking time out of your life to do something different, something fun and adventurous that maybe you wouldn't normally do, because you're not here on this life just to make it until you're on your deathbed to take your last breath and have regrets. Some of the greatest things in my life have happened from actually crossing beyond fear and taking chances and taking chances, even in these discoveries and especially as a kid, I believed so hard that in the magic. And what's awesome is I still do. I still believe in magic.
Cool. Man, I had a great thought and I lost it. Man, wait till you get my age, you'll have that problem. But
I don't think I'm too far behind you, man.
I do want to say, you know, that I have met a lot of great people. I started recording people back in the early 80s because I could not remember their stories, and nobody can tell their stories like they can tell their stories. You know, they told me, and I got a lousy memory anyway. But I started recording these people, and there was a lot of people that I wanted to record their stories, and they passed away before I could get them. I didn't take the time to go record their stories before they passed away, and I am really, really regretting that, because you know the cemeteries. I heard somebody say the cemeteries is filled with knowledge, man. That's gone. It's lost. You know, it's destroyed. That's destroyed history. You know, it's gone.
Yep.
So if you know somebody that has some great history, record them, man, because when they're gone, you'll never be able to tell their story like they told it. You know, you do a pretty good job at telling your grandpa's story, but still, you can't tell it. Like
I can't,
grandpa.
and it's fragmented. What you know, to try to share, because there's so much of the story, it is hard. So that's why I go watch the documentary. You'll at least get a cohesive timeline of my grandfather's origins, at least with this phase. And yeah, it's a hell of a story. And look, he has inspired us so much. We're still doing it.
Cool.
Right. And because of the things that we found. So we know it's not bullshit. We know it's not a fantasy. Some people have come, oh, you guys are living a fantasy. Well, Montezuma's treasure is not real. The Aztecs were never in Utah. And when you start sharing with them the facts, some of them change their mind and some of them just don't want to believe. And it's okay if they don't believe you, because at least for us, we're not doing it for someone else to believe what we believe. We're doing this to prove it to ourselves.
And you're not doing this because it's a convenience because you live in Utah. You're not from Utah. You're from California.
Correct. Yep. Born and raised in Oakland, California, Hayward, California, currently live in San Leandro, California. And I bounce back. So now we bounce back between Utah and we've got a home base in Utah as well. Matter of fact, this is my headquarters. Not that you need to see all of it. Undisclosed location in southern Utah. And but yeah, we've got a home base here, and because we're constantly out here working on our adventures, and yeah. So
Flash in your pan said, Terry, man, love to have you on our show again, man. I would love to be on, Flash, but I work at these mines and that, and by the time I get off, and I live in motels, and I have terrible internet access, and by the time I get off work, it's late, but one of these days, no, when I'm not out of state, man, I'll get with you, and I'd love to do another one for you. Somebody, Mama J, I think, asked, you touched about on portals. I think she said portals. Can't remember. What do you believe it? Portals, all the aliens, that's out of my realm.
Sure.
What do you know? What about these portals?
Well, the reality is there are multiple dimensions to life. I hate doing this. I'm going to do it. Science today, quantum physics, it tells us there are multiple dimensions. We know from the ancients and the wisdom, there are multiple dimensions. Even most people believe in a heaven or a hell. So there you believe in 3 dimensions. You believe in a heaven dimension, an earthly dimension, and a hell dimension. So I'm not saying you have to believe in hell, because I don't, not in the way that is taught. But the reality is there are multiple dimensions to reality. And there are portals. There are portals that allow us to travel through 3-dimensional space and time. And there are portals that we travel in, we'll call them mental or astral. Every time you have a dream at night, your body is in bed, your mind is traveling, envisioning, and seeing other worlds, people, and things. But yes, there is technology that exists today that open portals. I would say there was something that happened, I believe, in 2012 when Obama was flying into Norway. I can't remember where he was going to get the Nobel Peace Prize. There was a blue spiral that opened up in the sky. They tried to say that it was a missile that was fired that spun this blue spiral, but that would be an act of war, because you have the president of the United States flying in that airspace, and you're telling me someone fired off a missile that lost trajectory and spun and made the spiral? No, because they were world leaders coming to a location, and everything is pointing to say, once again, I'm not asking you to believe any of this, but I'm just telling you from my experience that yes, portals exist. Yes, higher dimensions exist. Yes, lower dimensions exist. There are other beings like yourself, conscious, highly evolved, who are just in different space and place, right? Occupying what we would call the same place, but different dimensions. And in Peru, in Mexico, in America, we have certain locations that are very energetic, active areas, but you have got to be tuned in to those things to have those experiences. But see, there's my long drawn out, talking too much response that yes, portals are real. Aliens are real, but are they aliens like green men and all this? There could be a variety of beings that look different, but there are definitely beings that look like us, that are humanish. They're spiritual beings. And so, I've had these experiences, so I can only speak for myself. But the answer is yes. There is higher realities.
So somebody said, and I don't know how to find it again, but they wanted to know what your take was on the handprints carved in stones. What do you make of the handprints? What do you think they are? Why? Why'd they leave their handprint?
Well, there are multiple explanations, or I will say that there are 3 interpretations to most petroglyphs and pictographs. And when we're talking about handprints, they are very much one, physical, 3-dimensional realm. I am here. This is remembrance. This is where I am. I leave my mark. I lay my hand on this rock, and I am here.
I did it.
I am here. I am present. There is the idea that would be now passed on to others who come to see these handprints. And that's another level of understanding of what those mean. And there's a spiritual meaning to that as well. And some of these handprints were not painted. Some of these impressions are from energy and from the capabilities. Again, there are those who walk among us who are tuned into higher energies and connecting and utilizing this energy. The Eastern philosophy of the Tai Chi and the Tao and connecting and pulling the energy in, the natives as well had that technology. So the handprints are marvelous. Now the 6-fingered handprints, those are also very special too, because as most 6-fingered people, and part of me has to humble myself because I don't want anyone to think because I was born with 6 fingers on each hand that I'm telling you that I am of this high priest descendant and I'm more special than you, because that's not the case. I'm not more special than anybody. We're all special and unique. But I definitely was born with this, and my lineage comes from the high priest. We come, my grandmother's line on my dad's side, who was also born with the 12 fingers, we come from the genetics from the ancients and from those who didn't originate on this planet. That's just, I can only share what our history is. And that's not just our history. It's the history of the ancients, of my ancestors. So the 6-fingered handprints are pretty special as well.
Man, Dan, I appreciate you meeting with me and doing this interview, and I hope all of you guys enjoy Dan sharing his knowledge with his experiences with it, because man, he's got a wealth of knowledge, he's got a wealth of experiences, and like I said, I met him, clear back in the early 2000s, and it was great getting to know him. So, and it's great to get to know you again. It's been a long time since I've seen you.
Since we've been face to face.
So with that said, unless you got any last closing words, any last things to say?
Man, there's all kinds of things. Like I said, I didn't write anything down. God, I'm sorry. Oh, there's some people over here.
Oh, you better check your group out there.
There's hey, bro, you're right. Inside the cave, the water, very fascinating. Did you or your grandfather think about survivors of Aztec homes up there still in the area? Please, no more giants.
So you got somebody that doesn't want giants too. So somebody says, do you still have them 6 fingers? So I had a friend that he was born with 6 fingers, and they cut him off at childbirth because they didn't want to be a freak.
That's the same Kaiser and all their wisdom. So I don't know if you can see, but I got the nubbies, and my nerves endings are there. So what they did to me is they didn't cut them off. They strangled them off, because your cartilage, your bones are very malleable and cartilage, not hardened. And so they strangled mine off. My mom was so pissed off that the doctors did that without that. Because when I was born, apparently the doctor came over and grabbed her hands and starts looking at her hands. And she goes, "What's wrong?" And he had a concerned look on his face. And she said, "Was he born with 6 fingers?" And he goes, "Yes." What's going on? Oh, his grandmother has 6 fingers.
Oh, really? So it is something that ran in the family.
In our family, yes. And so, but yeah, they chopped them off. So I still have, as a kid, when I'd play sports, I have to put Band-Aids over them, because these are the nerve endings still. And it hurts like a son of a bitch. Basketball hits your hand the wrong way, and it hurts real bad.
Hey, I'm bad at reading these things, but hey, I really appreciate everybody getting on live here. You know, even though I screwed it up, I don't know how to do live, and I made do with getting my computer up and going at the last minute. You know, but thank you all for jumping on. Thanks for hitting the like button, and Dan, thanks for being with us.
So thank you, Terry. You know, this guy is sharing people's stories. He's a legend himself. You know, he's a wealth of knowledge and experience. I want to thank you for coming to spend time. I want to apologize. I know that I get fragmented when it's just off the cuff and no plan in sight. So I know that I could kind of ramble here and there. Bottom line is that I'm passionate about my family's adventures and what I'm doing. I'm passionate about all this. And hopefully you guys will subscribe to my channels, follow me, whatever. But I appreciate everyone listening. And if there's anything that, you know, that you have found or discovered, that's something else I think we said a little earlier. I'm down to hear about it and share my thoughts. If it's somewhere in the Four Corners area, then I may be able to hook up with you guys and come check out your sites. I do all kinds of stuff, filming. I have a production company as well. So, you know, we produce things, different shows. I am also considering taking on some investors and donors for some of these upcoming things that we're doing. We haven't really flushed out what that means. But there's some property that we have pinpointed that we can purchase, that we're convinced has some things to find, some history to uncover, and we may be bringing on investors for that. So get in contact with me. Hopefully I've shared something that resonates with you. I'm a multifaceted dude.
What's your email address?
So you can email me, dan@montezumastreasure.com. And that's my website, montezumastreasure.com. And you can find my contact through there too. Reach out to me, you know, let me know if you're interested as I'm figuring that out. But regardless, I hope you follow me and my family. I want to thank my wife and my kids, my grandfathers and my grandmothers and my uncles, my Uncle Johnny, my Uncle Paul. Those guys were badass, crazy, wonderful individuals. And they took an 8-year-old kid out with them to the desert. As you could tell, my mother and father weren't very protective of me. They might have hoped I got lost in the desert with them.
So somebody asked, you know, where's your link? You know, I put his links and everything on the live feed that I was going to do that I couldn't get going. So I'll put it at the bottom of this or add it to this somehow. So it'll be there. So, and he gave you his email address. So it's pretty easy to remember, Dan@MontezumaTreasure.com.
Yeah,
That's
Dan@MontezumaTreasure.com.
So
look up MontezumaTreasure.com. Just Google search Dan Dillman. Hopefully it'll pull up the website, and you can find me there and find me on Facebook.
And with that said, man, I appreciate all you, because if it wasn't for you guys, you know, I wouldn't be traveling around doing this. But, well, I take that back. I would, because I love doing this, whether or not. And thank you, Dan, for sharing your stories with us. And with that said, that's a wrap.
Let's make it happen, Captain.